to Study Time, a televised home learning program produced by Rwanda Education Board.
Hello, welcome learners to TV learning programs. Hope you are very fine. I'm teacher Julius, who's going to study with senior ones today, entrepreneurship, and our lesson we are going to talk about categories of goods according to biodegradable and non-biodegradable. So last time in the previous lesson, learners, we talked about goods, we talked about services, we talked about different types of goods, where we talked about free goods, where we talked about perishable goods, where we talked about durable goods, and so on, where even we talked about complementary goods and substitute goods. So today we want to categorize those goods into these two forms, the biodegradable goods and non-biodegradable goods, by giving some of the examples. So you must know what the term degradable means, something which can decompose into harmless particles by the action of living organisms or natural processes. So we want us to talk about a biodegradable good. Bio means life. A biodegradable good. So what is a biodegradable good? So this is, you have to know this is a good that can be decomposed, or broken down by the action of living organisms, by the action of living organisms, or natural processes. You can say by natural processes. So these biodegradable goods, a biodegradable good can be decomposed, can be broken down into smaller particles by the action of these living organisms. And what are the examples? A biodegradable good does not pollute the environment because it can be broken down, it can decompose, and maybe it forms manure. So examples here, we may talk about maybe paper products. You can talk about paper products. A piece of paper can decompose, and it does not pollute the environment. Can decompose and it forms manure. Then we can talk about maybe food particles. If you throw there maybe matoke or Irish potatoes, it can decompose and it forms manure. Even some wood products, they can also decompose with time. So those are biodegradable goods. They do not pollute the environment. They don't pose threat to our environment. Then we have non-biodegradable goods. So what are these? So this is the opposite of this. So these ones don't decompose, cannot be broken down by natural processes or by living organisms. Therefore, they can pollute the environment. So you can say these are goods, these are goods that cannot be broken down or changed. That cannot be broken down or changed. You can write the word or changed, that cannot be changed into small harmless particles, by living organisms, by living organisms. By living organisms. And what are the examples? So meaning that these non-biodegradable goods, they pollute the environment because they cannot be broken down into smaller harmless particles. These ones can be harmless when they are broken down. So here we can have like glass. It may not be broken down. We can have maybe copper. We can have aluminum, etc. The metals, products made of metals may not easily decompose into, or may not easily be broken down into small harmless particles. So therefore these ones, when they don't decompose, they pollute our environment. They pollute our environment. Then I want us to talk about some 3 concepts, because we are still under our Unit 4, which is concept of goods, concept of needs, goods, services, and wants. So we have what we call, the concept of scarcity. I want us to talk about this, the concept of scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost, and opportunity cost. The concept of scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost. So we need to talk about each at a time. So what is scarcity? It comes from the word scarce. The word scarcity comes from the word scarce. Who can tell me what scarcity is? Something which is scarce, it is something that is not enough, that is not there in abundance, and therefore it is scarce, you cannot easily get it. So now scarcity is a situation where resources are limited, are not enough to satisfy our needs. You all know that human needs are unlimited, there are very many, and you cannot get them at the same time. You cannot get them at once. There are very many, and yet resources like money is not enough. So scarcity, this is a situation where resources are not enough, to satisfy human needs. This is how you can explain the term scarcity. A situation where resources are not enough to satisfy human needs. And therefore, if resources are not enough, you need to buy shoes, you need to buy a watch, you need to buy a car, you need to buy food, but you have less money. That will call for making a choice, making a decision, a right decision on what items should be bought first. So due to scarcity, then there must be choice. When it comes to consumption, you have to make choice because resources are limited, are not enough. So in this case, what is choice? Who can find the term choice? Yes, who can find the term choice? Yes, somebody is saying that choice is the ability of a consumer to make the right decision on what to purchase among many options. Yes, this is the ability, good, the ability of a consumer. A consumer must make choice. A consumer to make a decision on what to purchase, on what to purchase among many options. Among many options. Among many options. So this choice, it is as a result of having limited resources. If you had enough money, you would not make choice. You would buy everything that you need. But remember, man's needs are very many, are unlimited. But resources available to satisfy those needs are limited. And that must call for choice. That must call for choice. And when it comes to choice, you are making a decision. You must take a right decision on what you should purchase. And meaning that if you make a decision here, then you select one. For example, you need to buy a pair of shoes, and you need to buy a watch. And you don't have enough money. Then you decide to buy a pair of shoes. Then that means you have left something. There is one item you have left, you have not bought. So in that case, that will bring in the concept that we term as opportunity cost. So what is opportunity cost, therefore? So these three concepts are interrelated. So with opportunity cost, we say this is the alternative, foregone. To forego something, that is to leave it. This is the alternative foregone when choice is made. When choice is made. When choice is made. So opportunity cost is the alternative foregone when choice is made. I want to explain more so that you understand what opportunity cost is. Assume you want to buy, you need these things. I want you to follow me very well. You need to buy a watch. You need it. You need a phone. These are the two things that you want. But the amount of money you have is not enough. Maybe you have 5,000. You have 5,000 Rwandan francs. You need a watch and you need a phone. So out of these two, you have resources that are not enough. The amount of money you have is not enough. So you have to sit and make a right decision, depending on what you want. A watch and a phone, you must choose one. So if you say, I have less money, 5,000, let me choose a watch. It means you have chosen buying a watch. That means choosing to buy a watch, you have foregone, you have left a phone. A phone, you have not bought it simply because you don't have enough money, simply because you have less money. So that means the phone becomes alternative foregone, and which is the opportunity cost. So the opportunity cost of buying a watch is the phone. So the phone is the opportunity cost, the alternative foregone, because you have left it. So these three concepts are interrelated. One leads to the other, and therefore we must establish the relationship. What is the relationship between scarcity? What is the relationship among these three? Scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost. So the relationship, we have to know the relationship. The relationship between scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost. So I want you to try to establish the relationship and opportunity cost. There is a relationship that exists. What could be the relationship between scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost? So, the relationship here, you must know that due to limited resources, which is scarcity, right decisions must be made, and that will be choice. And making a right decision, that will mean you must leave some items, and that brings opportunity cost. So you must say this simple relationship: due to limited resources, due to limited resources, due to limited resources, right decisions must be made among alternatives or among options, among alternatives. Alternatives, it could be items that you want to buy that are very many, among alternatives. And making a right decision, you are trying to choose what is the best for you, what you think is very important. Then in this case, when you choose one, it means you have left the other, which is opportunity cost. So due to limited resources, right decisions must be made among alternatives, which leads to foregoing an alternative. And that is the opportunity cost. The alternative foregone, the alternative that you have left is what you call opportunity cost. Is that okay? I think you're understanding me and you are trying to follow me. Then from there, I want us to talk about briefly on consumption. Remember, you are making choice, you are trying to select among alternatives, among goods, among very many options for you to consume them. Therefore, that one now links us to this smaller concept of consumption. So consumption, how do you define consumption? This is the act of using goods and services, the act of using goods and services to satisfy human needs. And remember, human needs are unlimited. And once they are unlimited, that will call for this choice, taking right decisions. So consumption is the act of using goods and services to satisfy human needs. Remember, consumption is influenced by very many factors. Consumption is expenditure on goods and services. So what could be some of the factors that influence consumption of goods and services? Consumption is the act of using goods and services to satisfy human needs. In most cases here, you pay for them. So one of the factors, we have price of the commodities or price of the goods. This is a very important factor, price of the goods. So how does price of any commodity affect its consumption? How does price of any commodity, of any good, affect its consumption? So you must know that when the price is high, that leads to low consumption of that very commodity, and vice versa. So you must know that when the prices of goods are high, consumption is low. Consumption is low. But when prices of goods are low, consumption is high. But when prices are low, then consumption is high. Consumption is high. This is one of the factors that influences consumption of goods and services. Then we have income of the consumer. The income of the consumer. So the income of the consumer also influences consumption. Simply because when your income is high, you will buy more of goods and services, and therefore consumption is high. But when your income is very low, then that will cut down, that will reduce your spending power. You will consume less. So when the income of the consumer is high, when the income of the consumer is high, consumption increases. Consumption increases. Consumption increases, and when the income is low, when the income of the consumer is high, consumption increases. And when the income of the consumer is low, consumption reduces. And when his income is low, consumption reduces. Automatically here, when your income reduces, you reduce the amount of goods and services that you have been consuming because your spending power is very low or is reduced. So we have other factors like expectation of future price changes. Expectation of future price changes. Maybe you expect in future that the prices of certain goods will be very high. That will increase the consumption of goods during that period when the prices have not increased. So when you expect prices for certain goods to increase in the future, their consumption increases. So you will say when the prices of goods are expected to increase. If they are expected to increase in future, the consumption or their consumption increases. Their consumption, people will buy more. Their consumption increases. And vice versa. Their consumption increases. So here we have more points which you can try to explain, like we have people's habits. People's habits. This one influences consumption, people's habits. We have price of other goods, price of other related goods, price of other related goods, price of other related goods. We have advertising. All these factors influence consumption. We have advertising, and even we have what we call even taxes. All these factors influence consumption. People's habits, you may find that for you, maybe when you are addicted, you have a habit of consuming a commodity. Even if its price increases, you will consume more of it. Price of other related goods, we talked about complements and substitutes. A change in the price of one of those goods affects the consumption of the other. Advertising, when you advertise goods, people get aware where to purchase. So therefore, they can consume more of that commodity. Likewise, taxes. When direct taxes are high, when they increase taxes on disposable income, when they increase taxes, that reduces disposable income, and therefore your consumption is low. But when taxes are low on your personal income, then that will increase the amount available for spending, and your consumption increases. So I will leave you with some homework, or homework that you must work out, please, out of this. So question one, I want you to giving 3 examples, In each case, explain the difference, giving 3 examples in each case. Explain the difference between biodegradable goods and non-degradable goods, and non-biodegradable goods. That is question 1. Question 2, as you write question 2, I want you to give the relationship. You explain the relationship. You explain the relationship between scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost. That is our question 2, and opportunity cost. Then our question 3, which is our last question, which you are to write, I want you to explain factors that influence consumption. And this one is, you will also explain them which I've outlined. So I want you to explain 5 factors that affect the consumption of goods and services. So these are the 3 questions that I'm leaving you with, you guys, which you must take down and you try them, so that next time I find you with relevant answers with the correct work. So at the end of this lesson, I expect you to be able to differentiate biodegradable and non-biodegradable goods. I expect you to be able to give out the relationship between choice, scarcity, and opportunity cost, and be able to analyze the factors that influence the consumption of goods and services. Thank you very much. We meet next time in the next lesson. Have a good day. Stay calm.